Next.
Right here, to your left. Thank you for being here today. We appreciate you being here. My question is, can you elaborate on your criticism of President Trump's nominee for the Supreme Court, Brett Kavanaugh?
I don't criticize Brett Kavanaugh. I think he is an excellent judge. I think he will be a great Supreme Court justice. So let me just say that. My criticism was of the president's and the resume he selected, not Brett Kavanaugh. Brett Kavanaugh's a good guy, and I'm sure he'll do fine. But everybody on the United States Supreme Court went to Yale or Harvard Law School. Everybody. Everybody in the United States Supreme Court clerked for a Supreme Court clerk, for a Supreme Court justice. Everybody. They all were involved, in my opinion, in the swamp, in the elite legal community that makes up the Supreme Court bar. And I just saw Donald Trump, the Donald Trump that I went out and campaigned for last fall, and that I wanted to see Donald, I always tell this story, I wanted to see Donald Trump in 2014. He asked me to come see him. And this was the summer of 2014. I just wrote another book. And the name of the book was a retelling of my experiences on the campaign trail of 2012 and what the future of the Republican Party was. That if we were going to win elections, this is my take from the 2012 primary that Mitt Romney and I battled out, and I won 11 states, and he ended up beating me after 30 states, and I dropped out. But I was underfunded, undermanned, had no chance. I mean, everybody was for Romney. Everybody was for Romney. How did I end up winning 11 states? How did I almost pull this off? I came within less than a point in Ohio and less than a couple points in Michigan. How did I almost pull it off with no money, being outspent 6-7 to 1? Because of, well, I talked about it in this book. The book is titled Blue Collar Conservative, Committing to an America That Works. And I talked about manufacturing and trade, immigration, all these issues. And so Trump calls me and says, I want to come see you. I have no idea why he called me. So I walk into his office. He's sitting behind his desk at Trump Tower, and he's holding a copy of my book. He says, I read your book. I walk in the door. He says, I read your book. I said, you didn't read my book. And I'm still walking in, and it's a big office. And he said, no, it's a great book. Right? Trump, great. And I just said, you know, the hell you read my book. And he said, no, I read your book. And he starts going on about my book, about blue-collar workers, about people getting screwed in America because neither political party, they're both elites, corporate elites on the right, the progressive elites on the left, and nobody's out for the working men and women in this country. And he went on and spent 20 minutes talking about this ridiculous idea that he was going to run for president, which I completely ignored. But the bottom line is, that's the Trump that I was excited about, who was going to clean out the swamp and not take the elites. And now he's picked 2 Supreme Court justices, both who went to Georgetown Prep here in Washington, D.C. in high school. Both went to Yale University for law school. Both clerked for the Supreme Court. Both are in. What about the rest of America? I mean, aren't there any smart enough people to serve on the Supreme Court who didn't go to Harvard or Yale? Right? So Brett Kavanaugh is great. He'll do a great job. But if you want someone who maybe has a little different perspective, maybe someone who had a scholarship. I mean, I was supporting a guy who had a scholarship to Harvard and said, no, my faith is important to me. I'm going to Notre Dame. Maybe something like that would be better.
It's the last